Today's victory against the Bills makes it 2 in a row for the first time all season, but that's not the end of the good news. The universe has conspired to make things easier on us for the first time, well, ever. Dallas was eliminated from playoff contention this week with their loss to the Jets. The Giants lost to the Panthers today, making their lives harder, and if the Cardinals are able to defeat the Eagles tonight at 8:30, something that's more than possible, then the NFC East, at least for another week, at least for the holidays, will be the land of the burgundy and gold. Let's talk Bills v. Redskins, the state of the NFC East, and the clarifying playoff picture next on the Hogstye.
It's the Hogstye.
And we're back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk a little Bills-Redskins today. My name's Sean Conti. I got the crew here, Mr. Alex Zeese.
Hey, how's it going?
Mr. Robbie Duncan.
Hey, Redskins win, baby.
The Redskins win. Mr. Steve Thomas is here with us as well.
Hail to the Redskins.
Hail, baby. So before we get into it, what was the most exciting part of your week this week, guys? Was it Star Wars? Was it the Redskins' victory? Give me your weekly highlights.
Both.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to throw the Danny Rouye interview in there for us.
Oh, my God. That was the one I forgot. The most important one. Jesus.
You guys are really just huge fans of him, aren't you? My goodness.
We are.
Star Wars came out. It shattered my mind. And now
I still haven't seen Star Wars. I am
you
excited
weren't
to see
here for the
it.
Rouye interview.
Huh?
So we all know where you go because you only were here for one.
I want to see Star Wars. I will. I just haven't had time yet, unfortunately. Yeah. So for me, it was definitely the Redskins win.
The rest of us spent a good hour talking about it, so we won't spoil anything now that we're recording.
Yeah, we've gotten it out of our system.
Yeah, we had to.
But it was so damn good.
Yeah,
I'm not done talking about it. If I slip into a Star Wars rant, just rein me in, guys.
Yes. You will talk about the Redskins again.
No, the Jedi mind trick. I love it. Okay, cool. Sorry, we got to get off of this before I freak out.
I mean, obviously, that was a great win today.
Yes. Excellent win.
This puts us at 7 wins for the year, which is kind of what I thought we'd be at the end of the year. So for me, I hate to say it because it sounds like loser talk, but it's almost like we got house money now.
Yeah.
So,
I think the team has exceeded expectations sort of across the board.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think if you predicted 7-7 at this point, you were a homer. You know, if before the season you predicted 7-7, you were a homer, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
I predicted 8-8, by the way.
Did
by
you?
the end of the year, yeah.
You might be right.
I predicted 9-7, guys.
I think I predicted 5-11. So I'm thankfully
we can go back
I'm
and look
blown.
at some point. Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, I think the team has definitely exceeded expectations on many fronts. Offense and defense both. You know,
yes.
The run defense has not exceeded expectations. But other than that, I think the rest of the team has exceeded expectations.
Yeah, both for the season and in today, I think the team exceeded expectations. This was a good game, and it got a little closer towards the end. But, I mean, God, at one point there in the first half, it was, 21-0?
0.
0, was it?
At the half, 21-zip.
So, I mean, that's a glorious thing, and we saw something similar last week, too, but we both times allowed the team to come back a little bit. But
this was kind of the first game that the Redskins, maybe the Saints game was the other one, that the Redskins just controlled from beginning to end. They looked like the dominant team. They were the dominant team. They were the better team. Remember we said in the game preview that, you know, this game in large part depended on what Buffalo team got off the bus. You know, and I don't know if that was really the case. It was just that the Redskins just played much better than them.
I think it partly is because I was hearing in listening to the radio and listening to pregame shows that Buffalo kind of was coming into this suddenly dejected. The Jets win made it a long shot that they'd make it into the playoffs no matter what.
Right.
So they were kind of like on the ropes to begin with. So
yes, this was a loser go home situation for them.
Yeah. But I mean, it was already like you could make it technically. It's like how Dallas was before they got their asses handed to them by the Jets.
Right.
Yeah, you're in theory still in contention, but you're not in contention.
Right.
Well, and Rex Ryan.
There's something else we forgot to mention There's something else we forgot to mention in how our week went and how good our week has been.
Oh, Jesus. How good of a week did we have, Robbie?
We had a fucking awesome week.
There's one last thing we forgot to mention.
What, did you
Dallas
date a
is
supermodel?
officially Dallas is officially out of playoff contention after losing to
Mathematically,
there's
they
that.
are.
All right.
They're out.
Yep.
Like
they're
mathematically.
6 and 10.
They're completely
Good.
out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now
If
let's
they're
hope
6
they
and
win
10
their
and-
other. Let's hope they win their last 2 games then, so they can get a worse draft pick.
I kind of
Yeah,
hope
that's a good
so,
point.
too.
Yeah.
Or even better, let's hope that they fall in love with what's his name from Penn State and draft him.
Hackenberg.
Yeah, go get
Hackenberg.
Hackenberg.
Yeah.
They may go get Robert
Yeah,
Griffin.
go get him,
honestly,
Jerry.
you may see a Robert Griffin in a Dallas Cowboy uniform next year.
I think
Or
that's
an
one of the
Eagles.
topics we want to get into today because there's been some talk about Robert's future.
Yeah.
And Kirk's as well.
Yeah.
And Kirk's as well, yeah. I mean, well, maybe that's a good place to start. Let's talk about Kirk a little bit in this game because he had a great performance.
153 rating, I believe.
That's what I have as well,
153.7.
which...
He was 22
Yeah.
28,
Which is-
319 yards, 11.4 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns on the ground, on the
4
air, and 1 on the
touchdowns.
ground. Yeah. Best game.
up
It's got to be his
until
best game of his career again.
Up until, well, no, he had a perfect game this year. And up until, I think, like the last 2 passes he threw or something, he was at a 158 rating, or whatever the perfect rating is.
158 is the perfect rating.
Yeah, he was at there again, and then he missed a ball or something, and that dropped him.
Yeah,
I just
mean,
like
but-
to say, incidentally, if your stat goes from 0 to 158, your stat is not a good stat. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's
they
sort of
should
random.
Rework it a little so it goes to 100 flat.
I've seen the formula, and it is a really, really complicated formula, but there is kind of a
It
modicum of sense to it. But they need to scale it better so it logically fits to the human mind a little bit better. than
I agree with you
158.
there. I've always kind of wondered why didn't somebody just take the math and say, all right, change these 3 numbers and your perfect rating's 100.
Well, you could just prorate the whole formula down to 100. It wouldn't be that hard statistically, and they
Exactly.
just don't. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the numbers are probably just for comparison's sake from one guy to the next. I don't really care about the formula because, frankly, you can use your eyes and look at his performance today. It was great. He had some very accurate throws. He had some throws that required a lot of touch. He had, I mean, I love seeing D-Jax heavily featured. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great performance.
There's like 3 or 4 clutch third down passes that he threw, especially at the end to sustain drives and keep the clock running.
The one to Garcon, for example. Yeah.
And then the one to Crowder. After that, it was really good stuff from him today.
I said it early on. I was talking on Facebook with some friends, and after Kirk ran in that touchdown, I said, okay, for every touchdown he scores from here on out, the team's got to realize that's probably another $1 million on the contract. So, I think that's where they're at this point.
Well,
And I don't
I
mean
think they
like
need
$1
to
million per
relax
year.
about
I'm talking
that,
like
yeah.
over the life of the contract, obviously. But
They need to relax
Well-
about that.
well,
This is a great, maybe we should talk about this now. It's a great time to talk a little bit about Kirk's potential future before we go into the rest of the game because for the reports coming out this week are that he is wanted back by
Jasno said something I heard.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference
He's
between
wanting
wanting a
back.
quarterback back and then signing him to a Ryan Tannehill contract. There's a big
But
difference.
that's the thing. They apparently are gearing towards giving him that exclusive contract.
That I think is dumb. That is really dumb.
I think it's dangerous.
He's not that. Yeah, that's not who he
He's
is.
not a $25 million guy, but do you
They said
have
they'll
anyone
tag him if they have to.
that?
I
And that's the
think
thing.
that-
Do
that's
you have
crazy.
anyone that's
See, well, tagging him is smart if you can't work out a deal. Let's be honest. You don't want to go into next year with a big void at quarterback with a huge controversy over why did you let this guy go when in the past,
I just
5
wouldn't overpay
weeks,
for
he's
him.
been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, but you gotta let's wait till the end of the year, see what happens. The guy is not worth a franchise tag level. He's not that quarterback.
Well,
he hasn't
I'd rather
been.
do that for 1 year than either overpay him or let him go. If your options are you are paying him, $25 a year for 5 years, $25 for 1 year, or he walks, what do you want?
right?
Well, it depends on what he's offered. If some team offers him some insane contract, I think you kind of have to let him walk. But if he's in the $10 million range, I think he's got more to prove. Is my point. And I'm a skeptic. Okay, all right, people out there, audience wise, tell them. I don't hate Kirk. I know you all think I do, but we've seen quarterbacks get hot before. Ryan Tannehill is a perfect example. They signed him to a big contract, and all of a sudden he's not what he used to be. Joe Flacco's another one. Ryan Fitzpatrick signed a big contract back years ago one time. I mean, there's quarterbacks that this happens to. He's got more to prove, to show he can be a franchise quarterback. So I think if he gets some insane offer from, pick a team, the Texans maybe, there's a few teams out there. I think you got to let him go.
It's tough. Because what do you do? I mean, I agree with you. If you just look at the numbers, $25 million, it's too much to pay him. $20 million is probably too much to pay him. He's not worth all that. But you can't just look at the numbers. Right. Is Colt McCoy going to get? And let me tell you something. Kirk Cousins, I gotta say, over the course of this season, he has looked more to me than just an average guy. He's looked like a guy who's settled into his job. He's learned to play it well. Right. Who knows if he'd be as good at another team? This is the only team he's ever been on. But for what it doesn't matter. He's playing well. He's getting the job done, and he's doing it.
He might be a system guy, but we're running his system.
We're running his system, and it's for him, it's working. His part of the offense is working through these last couple weeks, particularly. So you look at it like that, then you start saying, okay, well, you know what? Maybe the $25 million is worth the gamble.
I don't mind keeping him around, because Jay loves him. He fits Jay's system very well.
McLuhan seems to like him too, apparently.
I don't know what McLuhan likes. I think that guy's kind of more of an enigma than anybody thinks, than anybody realizes personally. But Jay certainly loves him. He executes Jay's offense really well. So and if you look at more importantly, the free agents next year are terrible. There's not any good
agents, none of the quarterbacks we can draft are going to be ready.
Exactly. There's no one out there that's going to be better.
Well, at this point, we'd have to trade up if we were going to get one of the top draft
there's three guys
quarterbacks
who will probably work out in 2 years, but they all need to ride the pine for a year. It looks
exactly. I mean, you trade up and get one of those guys, but even then, they're not a guarantee.
Right.
They're not a Mariota type or a Winston type. One of those guys that you have to get.
They're more
you're not going to get a good quarterback.
Manuel level.
Christian Ponder.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe
I don't know if Kirk Cousins isn't Christian Ponder. I mean, I think that we need another. There needs to be more time. A handful of good games is not a reason to give a quarterback a huge contract. I think we keep him around for another couple years at as modest a rate as we can and see what happens.
Here's what I think. If we win on Saturday against the Eagles, we clinch the NFC East,
probably
go to the playoffs, then I think he deserves a good, decent contract.
What does decent mean to you?
Like I would not be upset if we tagged him if we had to.
Oh God, I think I'd have a heart attack if we tagged him.
I see. Again, I don't think Robbie's even saying. I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you're saying he's worth that much. I think you're saying it's him.
Worth to keep him.
It's worth to keep him because again, there's nobody coming up through the draft. There's not anybody else that's going to be better. Coming in free agency. And
he's somebody you can build the team around. You got Scott McLuhan who's going to bring in guys in the draft and in the free agency here and there. And, lock him down for 2 to 3 years on a team friendly deal and a friendly deal for him as well. Kind of like what the Niners did with Kaepernick,
Right. Well, if you can do a 2 or 3 year team friendly deal, yeah, I mean, sure. But some of these folks out there talking about big dollars.
You need to recognize what team friendly means in this age with quarterbacks. He's going to get 12 to 15 million minimum.
Yeah.
Each year.
Yeah, that's the thing because, frankly, if you don't franchise him and you say he's not worth the 25, look, someone's going to come around willing to pay for him. Well, so you're going to have to give him something.
Look at Seattle. They really paid Russell Wilson a lot of money, and as a result of that, they had to let a couple players go. And they had to, and they couldn't pay. Who's the Cam Chancellor? Wasn't it Cam Chancellor? They couldn't pay, and he got mad and pouted. I mean, there are. When you pay a quarterback like that, you better be darn sure that he's the next coming of, Peyton Manning. Otherwise, your team, you cannot pay a quarterback $20 to $25 million and have him not be over. I'm talking annually, and not have him be a franchise guy. Otherwise, even if he is a franchise guy, your team still may be screwed because of the salary cap.
I think we all agree with that in principle, and there's plenty of evidence statistically and looking at the NFL that once you pay those quarterbacks that big salary, it hampers the whole team. And I think everyone agrees with that.
Except, I mean, but I think the Redskins are more equipped to do that than a lot of teams because we don't have as many, I think, big-time contract draw players that a lot of teams do. I don't know if we'd really have to mortgage the team.
We are going to have those people.
Well, sure, but I think I'm just saying. I think at this moment in time, if you have to give them a franchise tag, one big one-year deal, you can.
But what do you do?
Yeah,
we afforded to do it for Robert. I mean, it's not really killed us at all.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, Robert doesn't have a $20 million contract either. He's not.
It's like 18.
No, that's for next year though.
It's 16. It's 16 next year. The Robert is on the rookie, scale contract, which is while big, it's not. So big it ruins
I think he's
the team.
making $7 million or something like that.
Something
this
like
year.
that. Yeah. Next year it's 16. If he stays, it's 16.
Which he won't.
No, but I think everybody agrees that he's probably going to be gone one way or another next year. But I'm talking, if you look at like Flacco, Tannehill, Russell Wilson, all three of those contracts hurt the team.
The high $20 million, $30 million contract is a dangerous thing.
All of those teams were ultimately hurt by those contracts, including the Seahawks.
I agree, but at the same time, I'm just saying quarterbacks who stay on teams don't make less than $10 million unless they're Tom Brady and they're willing to take a huge pay cut.
Yeah, and Tom didn't take a gigantic pay cut. He took a little bit of pay cut.
Well, he's making $9 million this year.
Is that what it is this year? I stand corrected.
Yeah.
I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, he purposely did that so they could build a superstar team around him too.
Now, we should get back to the Bills game, but I wanted to ask you guys this last question about Kirk's contract. What are the other contingency here is that he plays ball with the team, right? And that he takes a smaller contract, he wants to stay with the team, and he doesn't make us, sell the house to afford him. What are the chances you think that someone like Kirk does that? Do you think he feels a tremendous amount of loyalty, I guess is what I'm saying, to the Redskins?
I think he does, yeah.
Think so?
I would like to think so, but football's a business, man.
Okay,
and
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
But allow me to play devil's advocate to Robbie's optimism. It's business. I think if I was representing Kirk Cousins, which is not too far of a stretch given my background, what I would absolutely tell him is get every cent you can, play the Redskins off every team in the league. Do not compromise a single bit on the salary you are owed because, number one, you have a limited shelf life in the NFL. If players last more than 10 years, they're lucky. And number two, the owners are making a fortune. There is no shortage of money out there, and there's 32 teams. One of them will pay you. So on a second contract, a third contract, maybe I would give the team a hometown discount, but I think Kirk Cousins would be doing himself a disservice by not taking every penny he could. That's what I would tell him if I were his agent.
I tend to agree.
And I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean the question is, it's going to come down, I think, to Kirk's. What kind of dude is he?
Yeah, because don't forget, he was a fourth-round draft pick, and it's not a lot of money. He's not making. He's making more than all of us put together, but he's not making tons and tons of money.
Yeah, he's making less than $1 million right now.
Yeah,
so.
He's not making lifetime. He's not making generational money. And whereas this contract, if he plays his cards right, again, as a devil's advocate, as his agent, I would tell him, you can get the generational money.
Yeah,
sure.
I tend to agree with Steve. He's gonna, if his agent plays hardball, then we are looking at the higher teens if we're lucky.
Yeah,
and that's gonna suck for us in terms of building. The only good news is that the salary cap's going to go up a lot in the next few years, so that might even out.
I think one thing that hurts kind of is that report Jason La Canfora put out before the game. The fact that, it's out there that we'll franchise tag him if we have to keep him.
That sets a baseline.
Right.
That's going to drive the price up pretty high, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that kind of came out today that it will impact it somewhat is that basically they're saying in the press now that it's a sure thing we're getting rid of Griffin.
Right. Which puts Kirk in a very confident position.
Well, again, if I was representing Robert Griffin, I'd tell him absolutely leave. I think I would tell him, look, the Redskins don't want you. They kind of did you dirty. I don't think he
needs to be advised on that. I think he's ready to go.
The Redskins don't want you. The Redskins kind of screwed you over. They don't believe in you. You have a lot of talent. You can tout your Rookie of the Year award out there. There is going to be a team that will give you a good shot.
Yeah.
And it may be in the division. It may be the Eagles.
There's been a list of teams kind of put up lately, and it's the Eagles, it's the Texans, it's the Saints, it's the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
I think Steve, I think he's going to the Eagles. I really do.
Eagles.
I think he's going to the Rams. Full circle.
Full circle.
That's so
goes to
funny.
The LA Rams.
Wouldn't that be ironic?
Well,
I just think he fits the system in. He fits the system in Philadelphia there best with Chippers.
I agree.
You know,
I'm not
out
100%
inside
sure
zone
that Chip-
scheme and all that stuff. If Chip's there, you're about to say, is
Yeah.
Chip going to get fired?
Yeah.
The Texans
that's a
really could
question.
use a quarterback too, though.
See,
They just lost T.J. Yates.
For some
Looks
reason,
like
I have
they're-
a hard time
Oh
seeing
no,
him.
we lost T.J. Yates.
That's like the third quarterback that they've
Yeah.
lost this season.
I kind of there's part of me that really sees him somewhere in Texas, either
Yeah.
Cowboys or Texans.
That would
Well,
be-
if you're talking about just because he's going home,
Yeah.
the players don't care about that. Let me tell you something. They want the money. They
Robert
don't care about
Griffin's
going
crazy
home.
enough where he could.
Robert
care about
Griffin's
that.
parents moved to Washington, D.C. for him, okay?
That was
He
the big
and
mistake.
and he's not from Houston, and he's not from Dallas. He's from Waco. And Waco's halfway in between. It's several hours from either way.
Yeah, I
you know,
know
it's a
what
plane
Waco
ride. It's a net jet flight away for Robert Griffin.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
It's
I'm
not a
going
factor,
to
trust me.
College Station next week, so I know roughly where Waco is.
If I were him, I'd want to go to the Cowboys or the Eagles so I could face off against the Redskins twice a year. And plus, I think he is the best fit for the Eagles. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
he
do too.
has that kind of personality. I've never thought of him as the "I'll show you" kind of guy.
Yeah, playing in
gonna wanna go
Washington in
where
a
the-
couple years will do it to you, though.
Because we've
Make
ruined
you
a lot
hate
of
life.
Washington's ruined a lot of careers, over the years.
Ruined a lot of lives.
Yeah, it has. I don't
Well,
think
if
that he
wants to
cares.
get back
I think
at
he cares.
anybody, he should go wherever Mike Shanahan coaches and go play against him 2 times a year.
I don't think that he's trying to get back at anybody. I think if Robert Griffin was sitting in front of me, I would say, let's find the best situation to allow you to be the man again.
Right.
To allow you to be yourself, to allow you to play like Robert Griffin plays, and where the team will design an offense around you to allow you to do that. It's not in Washington. Washington doesn't want to play that way, but in Philadelphia maybe will. With the
Maybe.
running system, if Chip's there with the running game they run,
The
that may
other
be the
name that's
place.
been out there that actually makes a lot of sense to me for him would be New Orleans. Drew Brees, probably at the end of his career.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt RG3 to sit for one more year in a system where he's like, I'm going to watch Drew Brees play and I'll learn from him and then I will take over. So there could be some logic to that. Not to mention, playing on an AstroTurf in a dome would probably suit his skill set very well.
Well, see, that's why the Rams are so appealing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They have a lot of talent. They got a
Yeah.
defense that's just ready to be dominant. They that D line, the linebackers, in the corners. You got Joe Norris Jenkins, and then on offense, he's got a young offensive line that's
I
still
lost
kind of
Robbie.
figuring it out. Plus Tavon Austin, plus Todd Gurley, one of the brightest future running backs in the NFL. I mean, it's very enticing, in my opinion.
I think that would be good, Robbie. And I think Jeff Fisher may just be spiteful enough to do it just because he thinks it's funny. Is the other thing.
Well,
Yeah, that guy's an
You know.
asshole.
so
Grade A,
it
top shelf
sounds like
asshole.
Jeff Fisher's done.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope he
Maybe,
never sees the light of
yeah.
day again.
I
Bastard.
mean, the Rams are a kind of toss-up what's going on with that team. There was reports today that they are still being looked at as one of the final 3 teams to move to L.A.
Right.
It's either going to be San Diego and the Rams or San Diego and the Raiders, which that'd be weird. But we won't talk about that. We'll talk about that in the offseason. when it
Let me
happens.
ask you guys
Yeah.
one Robert Griffin question, and I think we need to leave the topic. I think I think Sean and I probably have been his biggest champions, probably, since we've been doing the show,
Yeah.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe in the guy because I saw him play, I saw him do great things in 2012.
Understandable.
I really think the guy still has, personally, I think he has the most raw talent of any quarterback we have. And I really, am I crazy to think that the Redskins organization really did him wrong in that they did not build the system around him? Blame Jay, blame Scott, blame whoever, but the system does not fit his talent, and I blame the organization for that. And if what Walker told us that Griffin didn't want to run it and all that stuff, to me, being a military guy, that's a leadership problem. What you do is you sit him down. Shanahan, McLuhan, Allen, Dan Snyder, sit him down and say, look, son, we have your best interest in mind. This is what we need you to do, and you convince him because you are a 60-year-old leader and he's a 23-year-old. You know, and so I think let me finish. And what I'm asking you guys is, did the Redskins do him wrong? That's what I want to know.
Let me just say yes, and also Robert Griffin and Mike Shanahan are very much like Jake Thomas in The Phantom Menace and George Lucas. He's the little kid that comes in to fill a big role, and he does a terrible job, but George Lucas is the director, and he's supposed to sit him down and fix the movie. Shanahan didn't do that. Shanahan's just like George Lucas. He let the kid star dictate the whole tone of the movie. It didn't make sense. So yes, I agree. It's the Redskins' fault. It's the Redskins' leadership fault for this whole fiasco.
I think it's on both sides. I don't think Robert helped himself with his play, and I think the Redskins mishandled it. But I don't think it's solely on one side or the other. I think both are to blame.
I think there's blame to go around. I would say a majority of it does always fall on leadership because the adults in the room should be the adults in the room at all times, and that takes place in the hierarchy of things. Dan Snyder should not be as close as he is with his star players, like he always becomes.
Correct.
We see video of Dan Snyder taking RG3 out bowling. That should never happen. And I think that kind of stuff is obvious. That probably is what led to the issues with Mike Shanahan. That probably, is what has led to the issues with RG3 and Jay Gruden. The thing where I would actually put more blame on RG3 is some of this weird off-the-field rumor mill nonsense. I don't think it's all on him, but, he definitely played a role in some of that.
Yeah.
And that kind of sealed the deal for me in terms of he wasn't going to work out. And I don't trust anyone who's willing to go as an unnamed source. And it's clear to me that somebody in his camp was feeding information to the press to go after Shanahan, to go after Gruden, to go after whoever he needed to, and that just.
Well, I think there was both sides.
I don't see how you can stay.
I think Shanahan was the unnamed source, on his side. But certainly, I think But that's the leadership thing. That's when you sit down with him and you say, "Look, we're all on the same side here. You need to shut it. We will tell Shanahan to shut it, or Mike Shanahan, will shut it. And what we're going to do is we're going to build around you. I just it's sad to see if you go back in an alternate universe if Shanahan takes Griffin out at halftime against Seattle in the 2012 playoff team, he doesn't blow his knee out, what could have happened?
Sure,
that's all.
Sure. Right,
I'm done.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
No, it's a good thought. I mean, I think we all agree that blame goes all around. Ultimately, I think it rests on the leadership, and we'll see what happens in RG3's career. We'll surely talk about this again, inevitably, when he is released in the offseason.
We'll probably be whenever he's released, we'll dedicate a whole episode to discussing the life and times of Robert Griffin III.
In memoriam.
And we'll play Boys to Men.
Yes.
What would the name what's that song called?
It's so hard to say goodbye.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh, you got the soul, Robbie.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk.
Robbie can sing.
Let's get back to the Bills before this train derails any further. Let's talk a little bit more about the offense. We talked about Kirk, obviously a great game. Other guy that made this a great game,
Jordan Jackson.
M.F.N. Reed and Deshaun Jackson, but Jordan Reed, I thought,
and
what a
Alfred
beast.
Morris.
Yeah, though.
Alfred Morris
not
had one
by
time.
Alfred Morris's past standards.
Run.
Yeah, well,
you guys missed my Boys to Men reference. It's the only one I have. Isn't One Shining Moment one of their songs?
Yeah.
You officially know more Boys to Men than I do.
Alfred Morris had one shining moment there at the end of the first half.
He did.
48-yard run. If you take that away from our running game, the running game was pretty sad again.
Yeah, give us the stats for the running game real quick.
All right, Alfred Morris, 14 carries, 84 yards, 6 yards per carry. Although I'd like
so really, it's 13. So sorry to interrupt. It's 13 carries for 40 yards, but then there was the 40-yard run.
Yeah, that's right. And right as he ran that run, his yards per carry was up to about 12. Because I was watching the stats when it happened, and it's plummeted down. But
he
Matt
had
Jones,
one good 9-yard run in the first drive, but that was about it.
Yeah, that was about it. And that was the one at the goal line. Weren't they down in the about the 3-yard line?
They were in the red zone.
Yeah. Matt Jones, 10 carries, 28 yards, pretty sad. Kirk Cousins, 3 carries, 11 yards. That's a quarterback. That didn't count. So we're really talking about 24 carries for 114 yards, but 48 of those is Alfred Morris's run. Take that out.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
I mean, if you can say that about a lot of teams, that if you take out one big run, their rushing averages are going to suck.
Yeah, but it was kind of a fluky thing, though. See, we have a pattern of averaging about 2.5 to 3.5 yards.
I understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
We don't normally pull off the really long run. We did it a couple times early in the season, and then like now again, maybe once or twice more.
The big picture is 24 carries, 100+ yards. That's a good day for most teams when it comes to the running game.
Well, I'll just give you a little.
In the end,
take that run
but
away.
But just remember, it's less than 100 without that one.
Yeah. Take that run away, and we were averaging 2.9 yards per carry.
Sure. I understand that.
But, I mean, think about it this way. You don't need the running game when you're having a passing day like this.
True.
Yeah.
You're doing what you need to do, and you're getting your yards how you need to get them through the air with your receivers.
This team isn't a running team anyway. No matter what we started out saying, that's not what we are. Yeah. We're a short passing game, and now we have, we have some weapons. We've got Deshaun to go deep. We've got Jordan Reed's a mismatch. That's who we are. Those two guys.
Let's stop the show to say that Robbie's got carolers outside of his house right now, and it's fucking 5 days before Christmas. Go home.
Yeah. Tell him to go celebrate.
Can you hear it at all?
I don't need your fucking Christmas cheer.
It's a Redskins Christmas
Talk about
miracle,
Grinch,
guys.
my goodness. Sean the Grinch.
Wait, isn't it Festivus this week? Or like
Festivus for the rest of us?
Yeah, when is
Festivus for the rest of us. I forgot about Festivus.
Oh, it's the best. I got a lot of problems with you people.
I thought I heard. I'm wearing my headphones right now, and I heard something out. Like, what is that?
What is that obnoxious, joyful sound?
Oh no, Festivus is not till the 23rd.
You know what my favorite Christmas album is? I want to tell you guys. This is
Bing
way
Crosby.
off the rail. Nope.
Mariah Carey.
Twisted Sister's Christmas album.
What?
I listen to it every.
Album?
Twisted Sister has a Christmas album where they adopted traditional Christmas songs into a heavy metal. And it is the great. It may be the single greatest piece of recorded music ever created.
Steve, what the hell?
It is the greatest.
You're now
thing
on
ever.
recording saying that,
Yeah.
I support that.
Celebrate it.
That they used the theme of "We're Not Going to Take It" and did Jingle Bells, maybe one of the standards. It's the greatest thing ever. For all you people out there who need a great Christmas album for Grandma, go get Twisted Sister's Christmas album.
I bet you they'll be so happy that we.
It's called A Twisted Christmas.
They'll be so happy that we played
ever,
this
though,
album
is
that
the
you
Bing
have
Crosby...
to. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
You were going to say Bing Crosby, Dave Bowie, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
agree with you.
Another one I don't know.
The Little Drummer Boy?
Oh
come
man,
on.
that's a classic.
I'm
I've
Jewish
got to listen
and
to
I know that one.
That sounds hilarious. I think Twisted Sister would be so happy to hear that their album was played on a podcast. They wouldn't even sue us.
You know what?
Nobody plays
They
their
sold
Christmas
a lot,
album.
They sold
No
a lot of
idea.
copies. They sold a lot of those albums. It was a hit.
Did
I
they
have no
really?
idea.
And
was
they
awesome.
have no money left, so they might sue.
They're still, you know what? They're still
Maybe we should play
touring,
it.
so they're actually making money. They're not like some of the other bands. They're doing okay. I love me some Twisted Sister. Did we get back to football?
But yeah, let's go back to Jordan Reed real quick.
Yes, he's the fucking man today.
Like I said in my game preview, he was the key to the whole game. He sets the tempo and the rhythm for the offense. He's the one that gets Kirk in his rhythm.
Yep.
And that's what opened up things for Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
They have to. If you really want to stop the Redskins, you have to either pressure Kirk and and confuse the offensive line, or take away Jordan Reed and make him find the other receivers. And because the Bills couldn't stop Jordan Reed, it opened up everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you guys saw this in the very beginning, right after Reed's first touchdown in the opening drive. Niles Paul was on Twitter, and he's been on Twitter a lot during games, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote the nicest little bit of smack talk where he said, Bakari Rambo knows he cannot cover Jordan Reed. There's lots of film of our practices that prove that.
Oh,
He said, "I got the film to prove it."
That's what it was. It was, I got the film to prove it.
that's just mean.
Yeah,
We need to get Niles Paul on the show. I'd love to interview that guy.
I would
think
talk
we need
to
Niles.
Paul.
If you're listening, come on the show. We need to talk to
Yeah,
you.
let's get him.
But we know you're not listening.
You know what? How do you know that? I think maybe Jay Gruden, Scott McGloin are huddled in the office underneath FedEx Field right now, listening to our old podcasts. That's what I think.
What are they going to say today, guys?
Jay probably hates me.
Yeah.
Jay
He
Gruden's like,
probably does.
I can't believe that those assholes did the impression of me and my brother talking to each other.
Yeah. Jay's got
Just
Robbie's
like
face
banana
on his
pie.
bedroom wall. Yeah, he's
I just
throwing
really
darts
can't
at
wait
him.
to have Robbie do Jay's impression to Jay someday. That has to
Yeah.
that has to happen before whenever we end this show, however many years it goes, that has to happen before we end this show. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I don't know how big
would
we'll
make
have
my-
to get Jay Gruden on, but we got a ways to go till we can get Jay on.
because he listens to the show, man. We just decided.
If he was listening, I would love to have him on.
Yes. No, I think Niles Paul and Jay Gruden would be nice interviews. Let's try to get Niles. That's a great idea.
Niles, I think. Is
Yeah. But anyway, speaking of the
Oh.
Bills game, because we've got to talk about it sometime tonight, guys.
We've skirted it.
We've skirted it a little bit. We've avoided, but it's time to dive in. Jordan Reed, yes, 2 touchdowns, I believe it was.
Yep.
Here's a question that I have to ask for you guys. Can you find a victory that the Redskins have had this year that Jordan Reed did not play a significant part in?
Without looking at
I
it,
bet
right
you
off the top
it's
of my
just
head, I don't-
one or two.
I bet you the answer is no.
Right.
Maybe the first game of the year where we, both Almo and Matt Jones had really strong running games. Reed was out, I think, that game. That may be the
I'd
one.
have to look it up, but we've kind of gone win loss all year,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Till
missed
today.
2 or 3 games, so there must be one win where he didn't play.
Probably, but it's few and far between.
Yeah,
For the most
but
part,
your point is valid. I mean, your
Yeah.
point is
Yeah.
that guy is what makes the offense go. That's what you were saying earlier, Robbie. I
Yeah.
mean, everything is keyed off of Jordan Reed because he's such a mismatch. And what's weird about him is he's not the fastest guy tight end out there. He's not the biggest tight end out there.
He's agile.
yeah.
He's agile.
Elusive
He runs
is what I
very
like to say, but
precise.
yes.
He's got great hands and he runs great routes.
Yep.
And it's crazy to think that at the beginning of this year, it was much more about Niles Paul, which made sense. He's a great tight end too. But a lot of people were doubting Jordan Reed's place on this team. Period. But
That was
he
just because
had
he couldn't stay healthy.
because he couldn't stay healthy. But I think that is not as much a concern. And also, God, he's really a huge part of this offense.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I don't know.
If,
All right, so I looked it up. I don't think Jordan Reed was healthy for the win against the Rams. That's the one.
for the Rams. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heard him. So I got the stats listed of just because I wanted to look it up, how he ranked among all the other tight ends in the league real quick.
Sure.
Let's have it.
Jordan Reed is 3rd ranked tight end in the NFL stats-wise, 67 receptions, 694 yards receiving, averages
Nice.
10.4 yards per catch.
Beautiful.
Yards per game is about 63.1, and he has 7 touchdowns.
Who's ahead of him?
The
So
first
what were you
from
ranking them
Carolina,
based
right?
on of those?
Ahead of him is Jason Witten and Delaney Walker.
Wow. Jason.
But when
Witten
you say
was-
ahead, are they going by receptions or yards?
Or touchdowns?
touchdowns,
Looks
yeah.
like
And what's your
Looks like-
source there? What
it's
are you looking at?
NFL.com.
Okay,
Looks like to me it's receptions.
Okay.
receptions.
But
That sounds about right, actually.
But
if you're going by
touchdown wise, Tyler Eifert leads the league in touchdown receptions with 12. Gronkowski's right behind him with 11, and then
Wow.
and then Gary Barnage from Cleveland has 8, and then Jordan Reed's tied for 4th.
Well,
after
I
that.
think that
Who
if you
heard of
just do
Gary Barnage?
Right.
well, I think if you just talk about tight ends you'd want over Reed. I mean, it's a fairly small list. I'd take Gronk because he's such
Yeah.
a physical mismatch. Jimmy Olsen, Olsen
Greg
with
Olsen.
Carolina.
Greg
Greg
Olsen,
Olsen,
yeah.
thank you. Jimmy Olsen's
Yeah.
from a comic book or something, isn't he?
It's
And
Superman's
Olsen-
sidekick.
See, I actually do know something about comic books. There's
a
the
little
one thing I
photographer
know. That's the only thing I know is Jimmy. I knew the name Jimmy Olsen, but anyway, Greg Olsen, Gronkowski. If it's just 1 year, maybe you take Witten. He's
Yeah.
getting old,
Right.
but those 3 guys, maybe Jimmy Graham. But the list is not
I don't
long.
know about Graham anymore. He seems to have gone
Well, he's
off
hurt
the cliff
now.
lately.
He's hurt now.
Well, but even before that, he was not doing
Yeah.
great.
He wasn't doing anything in Seattle.
Yeah.
No, I
something
agree.
different.
Jordan Reed's tops the league, and
Yeah.
I'd frankly take him.
does he
you know,
deserve to get the Pro
over
Bowl
anybody.
though?
I think he does.
I think so too.
I mean, think of it this way: all the names you mentioned aren't both well, I mean, you had one AFC guy, one NFC guy.
Well, that's
I
not
would
who they're.
take
that's
Jordan
not how
Reed
they're
over
voting for the
Jason
Pro Bowl
Witten.
anymore, though.
Yeah, it doesn't
They're
work
not
that way
voting Pro
anymore.
Bowl,
right.
AFC, NFC. Yeah,
I forgot.
It's top 6. Period.
Yeah, I
Stupid
think he
new Pro Bowl.
more than earned it. He's up there with total touchdowns, total yards, and up there with receptions. Why not? He's also a huge part of our offense. He makes the whole thing go, and we depend on him more than, frankly, I would say these other teams depend on their tight ends. I mean, I know Gronkowski's big in New England, and Olsen's huge in Carolina, but we really depend on Reed, I think, more than the other teams do their tight ends.
I forgot that they changed the rules of the Pro Bowl.
I don't know if I agree with you on Olsen. I mean, that's Cam's favorite target. You know, he's a really big part of what they do. Gronk, I mean, Brady can do without Gronk. I mean, they'd rather not. But Olsen may be as big a part of the Carolina offense as Jordan Reed is as of ours.
Do you think so? Yeah, I mean, it's close. They're both huge parts of their offense, definitely.
Right, for sure.
Either way, I mean, just a huge game today and a huge player. Let's talk about some other offensive players too. Deshaun Jackson, more than worth a call-out today, catching lots of deep balls and having a big part in this game. I loved that double coverage pass he caught and then scampered around them for the touchdown.
I'm shooting myself in the face for not having started him. I was worried with his injury. I shouldn't play him in fantasy, and I benched him.
Yeah, see.
Jordan Reed, Deshaun Jackson, 6 receptions, 153 yards.
Bam!
Targets.
Yeah.
And that is what you need.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the deep bomb right to start the half.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. Once again, this team gets a little more confident, starts airing the ball out. Good fucking things happen. I love to see it. I don't know if there's anything, other plays you want to call out from Djax. Like I said, I love that double coverage pass he caught and then sort of just scampered around them. I guess they kind of got caught, turned around. Awesome play. He had a couple others.
His first deep ball catch, was it in the opening drive or the second drive?
Which one?
The one that kind of helped them just flip the field. They went from their side of the field to the opponent's territory. It was
early
catch.
Yeah,
35-yard catch. That one was just a nice, beautiful, simple route, and it's nice seeing him not feeling like he has to try and take it to the end zone every time, which is what it feels like a lot of times with him. That he just catches a deep ball, knows, okay, I can get it, go out of bounds here, and it's good.
Yeah,
35 yards is fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Deshaun Jackson's going to be on the team next year.
I think he absolutely should.
The only name, I hate to say it because I actually like Garcon, but I'd say if anyone's gone, it's Garcon.
That was the question at the beginning of the year. I think it's still the question now.
It's got a $9.25 million cap hit in 2016.
Yeah, but you can restructure.
Well, I mean, he's only got 1 year left on the deal, so if you restructure him, you have to extend him, and he's going to be 31 in 2017.
So you restructure him for 2-3 years. I mean, Steve,
I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I think I probably would. I just raised the question because
you got to be realistic.
Fans have brought this up.
I mean, here's the thing: our entire passing game kind of focuses on Deshaun Jackson going deep, Jordan Reed kind of being that mismatch in the midfield. Garcon's the odd man out, if anybody.
Right,
so,
I think so too.
I like Garcon a lot. I think he's he's the leader, but he's not worth the $8-10 million he's going to make next year.
Agreed.
And you can draft somebody that's a bigger target that can fill his void.
And frankly, Crowder probably could step up into a role as a second wide receiver. He's not the same kind of receiver, but
he's sort of a high risk player. I feel like Crowder is, and he proved some of that today too. But
with that fumble,
the fumble, and go ahead.
To me, that fumble, that was a sign that the Redskins have kind of grown up a little bit, because in years past, what would have happened is he would have fumbled, the team would have, taken 3 plays and would have been in the end zone. Yeah, and remember what happened in that drive? That drive was the one where the Redskins made a goal line stand, 4th and 1 on the 1. Yep. That's not what happened. That's not what would have happened in years past. I think that was a real sign that things have changed.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
what other guys on offense do we want to call out, or are there anything? I mean, we've covered Jordan Reed, biggest part of the game, and Deshaun Jackson, and obviously Kirk Cousins. Anything else on offense worth calling out? Anything you saw in play calling? I thought it was pretty good today.
I think the play calling was clean for the most part. It seemed like in the fourth quarter we were just like, hey, just run the ball, run down the clock as much as you can, and punt. But when you're up as much as we were, that's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Play calling real fast. You go ahead.
Well, the most interesting play call was that Kirk Cousins touchdown run. It was a weird looking play, like a quarterback sweep. that it worked.
So-
I mean,
It was a called run,
Hopefully it
right? Yeah.
was-
yeah,
I've been hearing mixed things. Was it a called run or was it?
it looked like it.
Because I'd heard that he was supposed to toss it to somebody and the guy wasn't there.
It didn't even look like Kirk thought about tossing it to somebody. I mean, if he was, it looked like he just chose to run instead from the beginning because he seemed pretty dead set on it.
Maybe it was one of those package plays, where the quarterback can
Yeah.
decide. Could have been.
It could-
Maybe we'll end on this. On the offense-wise, the play calling at the half, 14 passes, 12 runs, and we ended with 28 passes, 27 runs. So it was a pretty balanced game, in terms of play
Great.
calling the entire day.
I mean, that's what we've all said we want. We want balance.
Right.
And I'll wrap up
Right,
the
and we got
offense
it
by
today.
saying the offensive line did well in pass pro, but still wasn't quite getting it done in the run. And
Oh,
Nope.
Yeah.
that reminds me. Do we know what happened to Moses? Is he back or did he
Oh,
come
good
back
question.
he
I
came
didn't
back
know
into
that.
the
I will-
game, but then he
Okay.
came out again. But
Okay.
I haven't heard exactly what's the story now.
Doesn't sound terribly
but-
serious, but let's keep our
Well,
fingers
we'll try
crossed.
and get some info before we leave the show here, see if we can
That'd be
figure
great.
it out. How about that?
Because we don't want.
From
I
a
mean,
defensive
I like Ty,
standpoint,
Yeah, let's go to
defensive
defense.
standpoint, Buffalo's running game, they got behind, and so they couldn't run it down our throats, but they did average 7.7 yards per carry
Right.
overall as a team. 31 carries, 240 yards, 7.7 yards. If we hadn't been so far up, and we won, that the running game really would have looked bad. And Tyrod Taylor all by himself, 80 yards. or 79 yards rather.
Yeah.
Now a lot of that was
we
on
need help in that
busted
department.
passing plays. So
Yeah.
That and the long touchdown run by the
Gallisley,
yeah, that's true.
who was their third string coming into today, right?
Might be fourth. I don't know.
That's
He's
pretty
fourth.
brutal.
Carlos Williams
Yeah.
is it's kind of the we said this in the game preview. The running game for them has been Taylor, McCoy, and Williams. Mm-hmm. That's the running game. Gallisley has been the odd man out.
Yeah,
isn't
Right.
Booby Dixon still on that team?
he's
Booby.
injured.
Yes, he is. 1 carry, 5 yards.
I thought I heard he
Oh,
was
what a
hurt,
boob.
but okay.
Yeah, I mean, LaShawn didn't have any necessarily the most spectacular day in the world.
He had a couple good
no, he
runs
had-
early.
He did have he had a couple good plays, but really, I mean, he hasn't looked. I mean, really, it's been true most of the year. Does not look like the LaShawn of yesteryear.
No,
10 carries, 29 yards.
Yeah,
that's
see, that's
not,
that's
not
Redskin
as
style.
impressive as you'd think.
He's out there looking like Matt Jones and Alfred
yeah.
Morris.
I mean, the one thing that kind of gets to me with when we were watching, especially early on, every single run play almost seemed like a kind of college gimmicky read option. You know, that Wildcat run early on. They were running a lot of like crazy formations early to try and get to us.
Yeah,
But I give the defense credit. For the most part, they kind of handled that part of the running game. It was really just when Taylor would, break down in the passing game and take off that we got
Right.
beat.
and I'm glad that Barry himself didn't overcompensate for that. Take somebody out to spell the quarterback the whole game, open things up downfield. I'm glad he sort of stuck to his guns, but also that it worked. I know we got abused a little bit by Taylor running.
Sure.
But I mean, who knows if he'd abandoned his game plan? Who knows what would have opened up? I mean, they've got good receivers in Watkins and Woods.
Well, look,
yeah.
Taylor can run, but he's not going to win a game just running.
Right.
Well, I think Sammy Watkins is worth a mention because
Oh, yeah.
he ended up with good numbers. 5 receptions, 111 yards. But remember where he was at the end of the first half.
One
Yeah.
catch, I think.
Yeah, exactly right. He had 1 catch for. I have
It
really bad
wasn't
notes
much
this
because
time.
they only had 9 yards passing in the entire.
It was
first
one.
half.
It was 1 catch for 8 yards.
Yeah. So they only
You
had
know.
one other pass that got them any yards the entire first half.
Right.
Right. And see, here's my question. Why is it that guys like Bashaud Breeland, who routinely have their hands in shutting big name players down, Breeland does not get a lot of mention around the league. Everyone talks about this guy Josh Norman in Carolina, who's awesome. He's great,
Sure.
don't get me wrong. But I see Breeland doing a lot of the same stuff. A lot
That's
of the
because
same
we're
stuff.
the Redskins,
Yeah.
Sean. You know this. We don't get
Yeah.
a lot of national attention.
It's true.
They don't believe in us.
Well, we
You
get
know,
national
this-
attention, but not for a play on the field.
Yeah, we get
Right.
National, listen, the national media and the fans are appropriately and properly skeptical of this team.
Sure.
We're homers.
Absolutely.
We're rooting for them, and we follow them, closer than probably anybody. But I don't blame anybody for not believing in the Redskins. just because of the history, what's happened over the past.
I don't even care about the Redskins. I'm talking about just Breeland. I mean, even when Revis wasn't on good teams on the Jets, everybody knew who he was. Nobody really talks about Bashaud Breeland, but I feel like he plays like one of the top defensive backs in the league.
Well, one person or group is talking about Bashaud Breeland, and Steve is just going to love it. PFF has him ranked at number 2 or 3.
Don't even start. Stop.
On the season.
This is a PFF free zone. Who cares? I don't care what they say. It's PFF
But
free
see,
zone.
but why would you resist it when it points out something that we all know is true, which is that he is one of the top players, and at least it's giving him credit for that. I mean, there's some good things about it.
PFF is a complete fraud, and
you just don't want to abuse PFF. I don't
want to give them any credit whatsoever because of their process. So I ignore them when they give bad stats. So I have to ignore them when they have good stats.
At least you're being consistent.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give you that.
I mean, but I think it's a fair point. I would say Breeland's probably one of the top, probably one of the top 10 corners in the game at this point.
Absolutely, and he had a good game today, even though Watkins caught a nice pass on him, or at least had a couple steps on him. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
For the most part,
10?
he's such a beast.
I would say Breeland's in the top 10 somewhere. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's a hard thing to measure. There's a lot of good corners. Well, we're homers. Remember, we've been watching him. But there's a lot of good corners out there.
That's very true.
You have to take if you take you don't have to do anything, but if you take an objective look at it, he's good, man. But there's guys out there that are elite and have been a long time.
That's true. But I'm just saying, if you look at our team, Breeland's almost always lined up against the number 1 guy, and he holds his own. I love it.
You mean, and Sammy Watkins had 111 yards today. Odell Beckham had over 100 yards.
Right, but they were also lining up Sammy Watkins, not just in Breeland's side.
This is true. They moved him around probably because of Breeland.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously because of
this
him.
a lot with teams is they are not putting their number 1 guys on Breeland's side of the field anymore.
Right.
Now Watkins did play against Breeland somewhat, but I saw him going up against
and
Blackman
even beat him
times.
once.
Yeah.
We love Breeland. He's a great player.
Dunbar,
I just think, top 10, I don't know about that. He's got a lot. He's got to prove it to me.
Yeah, I mean, well, he'll have plenty more opportunities. He's not going anywhere for a while, and he hasn't shown any sign of losing a step or something. If anything, I think he's improved over last year's very good year. So I think he's trending in the right direction. He's in good places. I see your skepticism of saying top 10, but I think he'll end up there eventually either way. Other defensive players we want to
Well, there's no doubt he's not our number 1 corner. I'll put it that way. He's obviously
ours. Oh yeah, he is the skinniest kid at Fat Camp for sure here in Washington.
How about you give a shout out to D'Angelo Hall? 9 tackles.
Hall was laying some wood today.
He is embracing being a safety.
He is.
Yes,
I didn't know. I was very doubtful that this would work because when I think of how Hall plays, it doesn't translate traditionally to a safety very well. But he has turned it.
I think D'Angelo Hall's a perfect example of a guy who we saw him mature right in front of our eyes. He was a punk coming out of Virginia Tech. He was a loudmouth. He thought he was the man. In Atlanta,
he got him kicked off 2 teams.
Yeah, he did. But he came home number 1, and number 2, he grew into his talent. And he matured as a person. And what we have is, he's one of our best leaders on the team.
Yeah.
And the young guys obviously look up to him quite a bit. And he, instead of pouting about moving to safety, obviously somebody, whether it was Gruden or McGloon or somebody, sat him down, Perry Fuel maybe, and said, look, we like you, but you ain't playing safety anymore.
Yeah.
Or corner rather. Yeah. And so you got to do this safety thing. And he, instead of pouting about it, imagine telling Darrelle Revis that, what would happen?
Oh yeah.
I admire him.
I think it was Dan Steinberg who had a great piece this week about all the guys who have moved positions, and it was about just the whole mad science experiment that has been the Redskins this year. He starts out with a joke. They're trying something uncanny this year in the front office by actually hiring GM and having a normal structure.
Yeah,
right.
But then he goes into Compton playing tight end. He goes into D'Angelo Hall at safety. Dunbar moving from wide receiver to corner. He goes really into depth in that. If you guys haven't read that, you really should. It was an amazing look into the mindset of the team and of the players they've been getting. And Hall is part of that. They wanted men in the locker room who are team first guys. And D'Angelo Hall, for all his diva persona that he kind of had early on, he's a team first guy and has been for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you've seen it with, like you said, you've seen it with a couple players this year besides D. Hall. I mean, even Scherf, the theory behind him is that he's versatile and he can play a couple
he was
positions.
In there briefly.
You know? So, I mean, you're seeing it everywhere. It does make a lot of sense. Frankly, with the Hall thing, it makes you wonder why we didn't try that earlier. That had been discussed before, moving him from corner to safety. I think probably because he's playing good at corner.
Well,
but,
we needed him. Yeah, we needed him.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Can I veer off just a bit? Robbie, what did you see in our friend Ty Inseki today when he came in for Moses?
I mean, he came in and handled himself pretty well against Mario Williams, I thought.
He didn't play very much, though, did he?
No.
A couple downs.
Downs.
But he got some reps in, and I don't think he did bad at all against Mario Williams. And neither did Morgan. Morgan had a great game against him.
Our whole O-line was fine, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
The one sack that Kirk got, and I think he only got one, it was more his fault, I thought, than anything. Trent Williams did get beat, but Kirk had no awareness on that one particular play, and he went down. I mean, I don't blame anybody for that, really.
It happens.
It was one play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they had a great game for the most part. Like you said, the running game ain't going, but I don't think anybody knows where to place the blame for that.
Just defensively, D'Angelo Hall is our leading tackler, 9 tackles, 8 solo tackles. Mason Foster, 6 tackles, 3 solo. Will Compton, who's been a hero for us.
Mason
6
Foster's
tackles,
been a surprise, too, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, who'd have thought at the beginning of the year that our starting linebackers would be Mason Foster and Will Compton?
Yeah.
Not me.
Over Keenan Robinson and Perry Riley. Perry
calling
Riley's
for
been
winning
Will
hurt.
games
Compton
with them, too.
Yep.
I've been calling
Because
for Will
Keenan at
Compton
this
forever,
point
yeah.
has been benched. He would be playing at this point, if we needed him.
How did
He
that
was just
happen,
playing
by the
special
way?
teams.
Yeah.
How did his benching occur? I don't even recall that happening, other than being aware
hurt. He was
Right.
hurt, for several weeks. But in the intervening time, Will Compton's played in his stead basically, and has won the job. That's what happened.
But which surprises me because I'm not don't want to take anything away from Compton, but Keenan's a good player.
He was playing.
He wasn't playing well this year.
He wasn't playing very well. I mean,
No.
yeah, he was injured, but I don't think it was because of his injuries.
He played well at the beginning of the year, though. He was our tackle leader for the first few weeks, and he had a couple big saves on like third down and running across the field to make a tackle. I mean, it surprises me.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it really surprises me with him. I mean, he was like my player of the game a couple times early.
I think the injury does play a part of it. Sorry, it plays a part in it. I think it might be a psychological thing from the injury. I don't know.
Right. Or maybe he's just not fully back yet and he's favoring,
Maybe
whatever it is.
the fans overvalued him in the first place.
That could be part of it.
He's been a good player for years, though.
Has he really? He missed 2 years with injuries.
I know, but last year he was good, and this year he was playing well, too.
Well,
he's a good player.
He wasn't playing well this year, but for a couple games.
He was.
And
we
last
just
year
said he was the tackle leader through the first 3 weeks at least. And he had some great
I
plays.
just wonder if he was overvalued. That's all. I mean,
I think Compton has clearly shown
we could disagree.
That he's
Sean,
a speedier, rangier option, and it turns out he can diagnose plays better. Before
Yeah, I mean he's been playing really well too. You can't really take anything away from Compton. Yeah. I miss the days of watching Keenan suplex people.
Yeah,
those were the days. Those were the days when you were like, "Is that really legal?"
I just don't know if you can say he's been playing well for years because we've only been without London for 2 seasons now.
Well, yeah, but more than 1 year is years.
Okay, well,
2 years is plural.
We disagree. I wasn't that impressed with him this year. But
how about
we'll spot here and there.
We'll do some research into Keenan Robinson. We'll come back next episode and talk about what we find.
Well, the front seven, other than the inside linebackers, obviously had a pretty decent game. They had 5 sacks. One of them was from Will Blackman, who came up and caught Tyrod Taylor before he could get past the line of scrimmage. But if you go back and watch that game, there were at least 3 more sacks on the board that got let up. And 2 of them were for Preston Smith. He had 1 sack, but he had at least 2 more sacks on that game that he should have had. a lot of guys were attacking Tyrod's, just going right to where Tyrod was. Mm-hmm. But every time Preston Smith got close, Tyrod did that little rollout, spin out type thing.
Seems to be his move.
I was going to say, like, you are trying to contain a very elusive quarterback there. 5 sacks is actually more impressive than I would have expected.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This. But, I mean, it's looking back at it that you had a lot more opportunities to be even more dominant. Like, again, if Preston Smith had attacked his outside shoulder, Tyrod Taylor wouldn't have been able to do that little spin out. He would have had the sack. He would have been able to wrap him up. It's there's little small things like that. The one sack I was really impressed with was Kerrigan's. He on that sack, he timed that snap, to the T. It was so perfect. The right tackle had no chance to block him on that one.
Yeah, and then there was the Hatcher sack where Kerrigan kind of is the one who created the opening for Hatcher to get the sack.
He created the opening for Preston Smith, too.
Yeah.
We've criticized Kerrigan a lot this season, and I think justifiably so at times, but he's been quietly sneaking up, at least in the area of sacks. I think today's sack makes 8.5 on the year. Yeah. And if he gets to 10, you can't really complain about a 10-sack season from a guy who's kind of a sacking specialist.
It's not just the sacks. Like, his whole game has gotten better the past 3 weeks, I feel like.
It has.
He's back on the groove.
Now, he looks more like benched at one point this season, too, right? Wasn't he benched at one point this season, too?
No, he wasn't benched. No, he's been hurt. He
was hurt, just hurt. Yeah. I knew there was a while he wasn't playing.
Well,
but I forgot if that was an injury.
I think he was getting more relief time because of his injury. Remember, he had surgery in the offseason.
Yes, I do remember
I think
that.
it's a lot harder than people Robbie, I guess we need your input here. I think it's a lot harder than people realize to come back from injury and just step right into playing legit games like he did. Did you ever have to do that, Robbie?
I had like a MCL sprain, and I played the next week, but it's not. I haven't had anything major where
like off season and you miss the training camp and just roll in and start.
Right.
Nothing
surgery, things like that.
Yeah,
because it's tough, man. How tough training camp is. Guys roll in there, they're not in shape. It's hard to just roll in and start playing immediately. It was obvious Kerrigan needed a month.
Now, look, I'm only 32, so I'm not going to claim to be an old man, but I sprained my toe somehow sleeping the other day, and I was limping for 2 days afterwards. So these guys
that's
injuries.
Like the most unathletic thing I've ever heard.
That's awesome.
You sprained your toe sleeping.
I woke up and I couldn't move any of my toes. And
how did you explain that to your doctor?
I don't see a doctor for that crap. I just say, I'm going to take some aspirin and I'll walk on it.
We really do know football here, folks. We may sprain toes in our sleep, but we can talk football.
No, but my point is more, if something that simple can make you limp at 32,
right?
Something that simple can make you limp, not a pro athlete.
Well. But my point being, these guys are dealing with major things, and we hear stories about Trent Williams all the time that he can't walk after games frequently for the next 2 days, and then he's ready to go next week.
Trent Williams is a guy who got hit over the head with a beer bottle and did not go down.
Champagne bottle.
Was it champagne bottle? Okay.
It was at
the Pro Bowl, 3 years ago, you get clunked over the head with a champagne bottle and you do not go down. That is unbelievable to me.
He's got a thick skull.
Yeah. Yeah. He went into the right profession.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
So defensively, what else can we call out? Is there any other major stuff that we missed?
Dunbar almost had a pick.
Yeah, Dunbar too.
Dunbar had a good game.
Another one of these guys who's sort of surprising everybody with his play.
Ricky Jean didn't show up too much in the stats, but he had a couple good plays in there.
He did.
He did have that one sack, but he's really good at getting in the backfield.
Let me ask you guys this real quick. Do you think that we let our foot off the gas too early on defense in this game?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yes.
Yep.
That'd be my one criticism.
We let him get back into the game. It was too little too late there at the end, but we let him back in the game.
Yeah.
I don't think the team has really learned how to finish necessarily.
Right. Yeah.
It's an acquired skill. Once they get used to winning and beating teams, they'll get used to really keeping the boot on the throat, so to speak. But
now,
they're not really there
I
yet.
assume they would have, they probably realized, hey, we are up by X number. If they score 10 points, it doesn't matter. But still, we probably could have beaten them, 35-10 if they hadn't done that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And someday we will. If we keep improving, someday we'll get there.
Yeah, I agree. The team probably doesn't feel like it's in a place to go for the jugular through the full game. They get a lead, they get scared, they want to hold on to it.
They don't
I
know
I
how.
get that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get
how
it.
How many of these players were even on the 2012 division championship team?
That's
These
a good
guys don't know
question.
how to win.
That's
very
another
few-
thing we
I
should
mean,
look up, yeah.
Trent, maybe we'll look that up someday. I mean, Trent, Pierre Garçon,
Handful.
those two guys.
Morris.
Yeah, handful.
Kirk,
but-
Alfred.
Morris. Yeah, I
Reed.
mean, but Kirk wasn't really playing. But yeah, anyway, point is, there's not a lot of them that know how to win. That's my point.
Frankly,
Yeah.
most of them know how to lose better than to win anyway.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and
can
even
we,
the guys
for
who
love
did
of-
win were like, "How did we do this?"
Yeah.
Well, can we, for the love of God, please figure out how to return punts in a competent manner?
Yeah.
God.
That's another
If
question.
I can have
And
a
kicks.
little, oh God, I mean, we're better in kicks actually. We're
Yeah.
ranked in the top 10 in kickoff returns, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But punt returns is just embarrassing.
Are we really in the top 10?
Yes,
Because I feel
absolutely,
like
yes, we are.
at least half
No,
our
we are.
kickoffs, we return it to like the 15 and get tackled.
Somebody did not read the stats section of our game preview.
I
Alex.
copy and
For
pasted it.
shame.
That goes straight to my spam filter.
It doesn't really.
No.
Oh man, I can't believe you guys don't like the numbers. It's just so disappointing to me. So just
No.
because you guys mentioned it, I'm going to read it to you. Not all the stats, just the kickoff one. Are you done? Okay. We are at 25.8 yards per return. We are ranked 5th in the NFL. Thank you very much.
Wow,
Kick returns.
Wow.
5th.
that is a shocker.
Because we get tackled like at the 15 a lot.
Yeah. Frankly, I was to the point where I just kind of give up on that because that's not going to get fixed, theoretically until next year. So
Yeah.
I almost don't care. I've just sort of waved my white flag
Well,
at the
I do know.
special teams.
I heard Doc and Cooley complaining about it a lot on the radio. I had to drive my wife to the airport during the game, which isn't a long drive, luckily. But during that time, I was listening to 980, and Doc and Cooley were going off on Ross for his juking
Yeah.
back and forth on returns
Right. Which is
instead
fair.
of going forward like a man.
Right. Right.
By the way, Morgan Moses.
I mean,
real
we see that
fast.
from everybody.
Morgan Moses, the update. This is from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Michael Williams, injured left
yes.
foot. He's injured left foot, and apparently Moses, after the game, did not tip his hand about how serious the injury was. So the update is nobody knows quite yet.
Don't do that,
Dun, dun,
people. Don't
dun.
play games with your health. Don't do that. All right, well, so let's just chat. I mean, we got to wrap up because we've gone super long today because we're all just love each other so much, which is great. But we should talk a little bit about the state of the NFC. I know I called it out a little bit in the intro, but the situation is Cowboys are out. Giants have lost. The Eagles are going to play in about an hour. Oh, yeah, we got to do game balls, too. The Eagles are going to play in about an hour. If they lose, good Lord, people will have a nice little burgundy and gold Christmas in D.C. Wouldn't that be
Oh,
nice?
yeah.
Sean, could you pound your desk a little louder?
Sorry. I should have realized the vibrations in the microphone would not be a good listening
That's
experience.
all right.
Yeah, so anyways, it's so winnable, and with this win today, we've made it even easier for ourselves. Now, the Giants game scared the piss out of me. I don't know if you guys watched this, but
Yeah.
they scored 21 unanswered points to march back to be within a touchdown. Thank God Carolina. Or they tied it, actually. Carolina, I think.
Close only counts on horseshoes and hand grenades, people.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. And thank God Graham Gano kicks the game-winning field goal for Carolina to keep them undefeated
Apostle
and to
Graham
defeat
Gano.
the Giants. The
There's a
apostle.
whole lot
So,
of
yes.
former Redskins kickers out there.
Was
There
Gano a
are.
Redskin at one point, too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, for a while, I think. A couple
I
years.
don't think you heard me say more like yes instead.
Yes.
Gano.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, kickers have a million lives. I think Billy Cundiff's playing or working out for somebody.
Like
Oh,
I've
with
been
the
saying,
Cundiff.
all the Redskins need to do is take care of business. Beat the Eagles
right.
next
Swiss
week and it's
Ham's
over.
still
Don't
out
worry
there,
about
right?
don't worry about the scenarios. Don't worry about tiebreakers. Blah blah
Just
blah.
win,
They
baby.
just that's exactly right. Just
Ju-
beat the
yeah.
Eagles and it's done. That's it.
Yeah,
Beat the
that's
Eagles.
it. We win and we're in.
Yeah.
Win and we're in. Ooh, I like
Don't
that.
get too wrapped up over. Listen, if the Eagles beat the Cardinals tonight, which is possible, the Cardinals are traveling east.
It's more than
panic.
possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible
probably
that could
likely.
happen. Don't worry about it because all the Redskins need to do is take care of
Next Saturday.
next week. And so, that's
Yeah.
all that matters.
I am so pissed that I'm going to be on an airplane during that frickin' game.
You'll have to listen to our recap.
Yeah.
All right, well, so should we do game balls real quick before we wrap this up, ladies and germs? All right. Anybody want to go first? I'll go first.
I'll go
if you guys
first.
don't want to. Okay, you
I'll
go first. Steve.
I think you have to give Kirk Cousins a game ball on offense.
153.
You have
Fuck
to.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to. And on defense, I'm going D'Angelo Hall. He had a great game, 9 tackles, embracing the safety role. So I'm giving D Hall that game ball.
Sweet.
Fair enough.
Sweet. I'll give him out next. I'm going to agree with Kirk Cousins. I mean, Jordan Reed, again, I'm tempted to give it to him, but, I mean, Kirk Cousins had an awesome day. There's no two ways about it. He spread it around. I'm going to give it to him. He had a nice scramble for the touchdown. He gets it. Defensively, D-Hall's a really nice call-out. Breland is another nice call-out, again, as he is seemingly week in and week out. Do I have to choose between those two? I don't want to.
Yes.
You do.
Okay, well, I guess I've given it to Breland like twice or 3 times this season, so I'll give it to Hall too, because you're right, Steve. I mean, I love that he's playing well in a new position.
All right, I'm gonna do my thing where I, even though I agree those are both great picks, I'm gonna pick other names just to give out more balls. So I'm gonna go with Jordan Reed. I think he's the obvious other guy who most merits a ball on offense.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Even though Deshaun had a great game, so many guys had good games today. The whole machine just fired perfectly.
Passing game, at least, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. On defense, a name we haven't really brought up, Terrence Knighton. I think he was key to that goal line stand when we were really needing to stop them to keep it from being 21-7. So I'm going to give it to Knighton.
Nice.
To Knighton?
Yeah.
Well,
that giant
from Robbie.
Yeah. I think he's not sure. Robbie, we're talking about that giant burgundy and gold blur fat blob in the middle of the line.
The guy who's 6'2", both high, tall, and wide. Him.
He's been getting himself some stats these past 2 weeks, which is nice to see. Being a nose guard and double teamed and triple teamed almost every play, you don't get any stats.
But I think he was kind of key to that. They ran the ball twice right at him, and he stopped them.
Yep. I am going to give the game ball to, Kirk Cousins, man.
Sure.
He balled. He really did a great job of, getting the first downs on those, long third downs. He was very clutch today. He was good at throwing the ball deep to Deshaun this time. And then
so safe to say you like that.
I like that. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, on the radio they showed this. Sean said he didn't hear it on the TV. When Cousins scored his last touchdown, the pass to Garcon, the entire stadium was shouting, "You like that," in a chant.
Oh yeah, I heard it. I heard it on TV.
Can we please?
I didn't hear that.
Can we move on to another saying, please? I'm getting tired of the "you like that" thing.
It's the only identity we have right now.
It's the team motto. It's the team motto, and you got to roll with it.
Yeah.
It's all we've got that's positive in social media.
Steve, it's better than units making up nicknames for themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Capital punishment.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, what a joke.
This is an organic team thing. It's good.
But yeah,
I'm just getting tired of it. That's all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You probably hated it when we all sang "Aha" at baseball games. Oh wait, you're not a Nationals fan. You don't understand.
And for those of you who don't realize this, I don't live in the Washington D.C. area, so I am a fan of another baseball team. I wish the Nationals well. I'm not. That's not my team.
He's a Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
I am a Dodgers fan.
His choice of the Dodgers was why we exiled him away from D.C.
Dodgers are having a rough off season, man. Don't bother me.
Yeah,
I'm
so
upset
are the
about
Nats.
them.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry,
Robbie, what's your game ball?
We
need your game.
I
just
gave it
wanted
to
to
Kirk.
bring that note
but my honorary game ball goes to Jordan Reed, just because he's what makes that offense go.
Yeah.
You got to give us one for defense, though. Did you already?
Defense? Oh yeah. Defense. I give it to. I give it to Will Compton.
Yeah.
Sweet.
He's the leader of that defense and gets everybody on the right page.
Who knew that was going to happen in training camp? Will Compton, leader of the defense. One of, at least.
Just goes to show you the picture at the beginning of the season is totally different by the end.
Sure is.
This team has gotten so much better over the course of the season. It's impressive.
Yeah.
It is.
That's what you want to see, frankly. even in seasons when you're barely struggling to stay even, if you can see that kind of thing, it's a victory.
Win on Saturday, and we can really celebrate.
Yeah. So, yes, that will be a huge game. So make sure you listeners at home check in for our game preview of this one, because this will be a big one. All of them, the next two will be big, obviously, but I mean, let's just focus on this coming one, like we said. So check out our game preview for that. Check out our interview with Danny Rouillet if you have not already. It was awesome. Go see Star Wars. And God, what's the date? Are we gonna have another show before Christmas? Yeah, we're gonna have one show before Christmas. So I'll say.
Tight. Yeah.
I'll say happy holidays.
Our game preview is
Go ahead.
going before Christmas, folks. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have another chance to talk to you and wish you a happy holiday, Festivus, whatever you celebrate, however you choose to do it. So until then, take care. Thanks for listening. We love you. We'll see you soon.
Peace.